Hey you guys, today's video is going to be about supplementing your leopard geckos. It's incredibly important to make sure that your geckos, or any reptile that you have, or amphibian even, is given the proper nutrients and supplements to survive in this type of enclosure, in this type of world where they're not out in the wild. So for starters, I want to discuss what I put on my geckos' food. I use Repashy Calcium Plus. It is a fortified calcium that has a bunch of extra vitamins in it, including vitamin A. It came vet recommended, and a lot of my friends who are breeders use it as well. I've been using it since summertime, and I have noticed nothing but good effects. Everybody likes it. They like the taste of it, they like the smell of it, and I'll show you what it looks like. So it just looks like other calcium powders. If anything, it's a little bit less white than other calcium powders, but I just attribute that to the inclusion of extra vitamins. Here's the ingredients and the guaranteed analysis, all that good stuff. I got this at Petco for like $7 or $8, I can't remember, it was somewhere between those two. I like that it's easily accessible, you can just go to the store and buy it, and I've had nothing but good experiences with this. This is really important to use because it's better than other types of calcium. It doesn't just have calcium plus D3, it has calcium plus D3 and other vitamins that your geckos need, such as vitamin A. I offer another type of calcium to my leopard geckos. I'm going to use Fritz here as an example, because I don't have any more of the actual calcium container because I ran out and had to order more and I'm waiting for it to come. But this is Fritz's almost empty bowl of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is just a pure form of calcium in powder form. And you can buy it at like a drugstore, you can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it at Walmart. It's offered all kinds of places and it's very inexpensive. I think I got a bottle that was like this big around and this tall, and it was only like $7. It's super important to offer this type of calcium on feedings and calcium carbonate in enclosures because it allows the geckos to have as much access to calcium as they want without the risk of overdosing on D3. Now, not a lot of people know about this, and I was one of those people. In fact, I let my geckos live in enclosures with calcium plus D3 for a long time before I saw Nikki at Def Leopards on Instagram talk about it. I didn't anticipate that I would ever actually have my own experience with it because I switched off of it and started offering everyone calcium carbonate. So, long story short, when I got Aria, who I have right now, she's over there, I also got Sansa with her. Sansa and Aria were housed together. Didn't think that it was appropriate to house them together considering Aria was half the size of Sansa, even though they were both grossly overweight. So I separated them. When I first got them, I noticed that they were grossly overweight, like I just said, and that was because they were being fed waxworms. And in pictures that I had seen with them, there were waxworms covered in calcium all over the container that he was taking pictures of them in, so I guess he had taken pictures during feeding time. If you want to know why waxworms are bad, I've already explained it in another video. I can include the link below, but I think it's in a video called like feeding my geckos waxworms. It was just last week or so, and I talked about why it's bad, so I'm not going to do that here. But anyways, Sansa and Aria both were not being responsive to food because they just wanted waxworms. They had that waxworm addiction, and so they were eating very little bit of food here and there. They weren't interested in anything. I had such a struggle getting them to eat, and inevitably it ended up hurting both of them. So both geckos started to lose weight. Aria lost weight faster because she actually had a calcium deficiency. About a month and a half, maybe 2 months, it's kind of hard to remember now, but about that time into having Aria and Sansa, I started to notice that Aria was losing weight rapidly. She started laying infertile eggs, which I've never had any of my geckos do. And she also started to stop using her back legs, and I took her to the vet, and the vet diagnosed her with lacking calcium, which is what we expected. She had been laying eggs so rapidly. So she needed calcium, so we got a calcium supplement that was in liquid form, and we had to give it to her every night, which she hated, absolutely hated it. And on the opposite side, Sansa eventually died of what we believe to be a D3 overdose. I want to explain the situation because I think that it will make more sense if I explain it this way. Sansa and Aria were housed together. They were both fed waxworms. The waxworm addiction made them stop eating. Sansa and Aria were housed together, so they had one calcium dish, and I actually saw a picture of their enclosure before I got them, and there was a calcium dish in it. I assumed that that calcium had D3 in it because not a lot of people know to put calcium carbonate in enclosures, and if he was feeding them waxworms and getting them addicted to waxworms, then he may have been uninformed enough to also give them calcium with D3. So, I believe that Sansa ate a lot of the calcium and Arya did not get to. Arya is the smaller of the two geckos. Like I said, she's half the size of Sansa, and so if there was any sort of dominance, then that would have made sense that Arya wasn't able to get it. Thus, leaving Arya with a calcium deficiency and leaving Sansa with too much D3 in her system. So when Sansa went off eating because she was addicted to waxworms, and that's not what I was giving her, because I wanted to break the addiction, the D3 stored in her body basically ended up killing her. The D3 has to be released with food, and if the gecko isn't eating food, the D3 is just released into their body and causing all kinds of problems. And after discussing it with some people who had experienced this, we believe that Sansa died because of D3 overdose. So I think it's super important to talk about so that no other geckos have to die from having too much D3 in their system. It's a completely avoidable thing. All you have to do is have calcium carbonate in the enclosure. And for Sansa and Arya, in their separate enclosures, they both had calcium carbonate. They did not have calcium with D3. And their food was dusted with this. And it just didn't matter because she had had too much built up in her system already. Same thing for Arya. It didn't matter that I had put calcium in her enclosure. No amount that she could eat would have been equivalent to the liquid supplement that she needed. Those two. Most difficult situation I've ever had to deal with. I've never had to take a gecko to the vet except for Arya, and I've never had a gecko die on me except for Sansa. I think it's super important that people properly supplement because so much of leopard gecko's health depends on proper supplementation. Look who decided to join me. What a handsome little man. So we're gonna do an outro. You cool with that? Okay, great. So thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if this video got a tinge bit sad because of Sansa's passing. It did happen a while ago. She passed away in the beginning of August of 2017. And I haven't talked about it because it's just really upsetting. I tried getting Sansa and Arya for 8 months. Good yawn. For 8 months I tried to get them, and kept going back and forth with her owner on Craigslist, and I kept going back and forth about making space, but eventually I did, and it just so happened that they're the two most problematic geckos I've ever had health-wise. I hope that you learned something from this. If you didn't and you already knew all of this, awesome, because that means that you know what you're doing and that you have done your research. If you want to share this with someone who doesn't know, please do, because it's definitely important and it needs to be talked about. So, all the normal outro stuff. Check the links below, leave a comment, subscribe, like. Oh, I recently launched t-shirts. If you would like to help out the animal family by buying a t-shirt, the link is below as well. Or if you simply want to donate, you can do that too. There's also a donation link. But anyways, that's all. Thank you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye!